Hey guys, you're listening to the English Made Simple show. This is episode number 148, number 148, número 148. Welcome amigos y amigas. My name is Milena from EnglishMadeSimple.net, EnglishMadeSimple.net. I hope you're doing well. You're keeping out of trouble, behaving like adults should behave. Don't mind me, I don't know where I'm going with that. I'm doing great myself. My website was offline for like 7 hours last week. That was fun. Not. It was loading really slowly for some reason. So slow. Anyway, that were fun times indeed. Fingers and toes crossed. It is going to work better from now on. Right? Nobody cares, as my husband likes to say. Nobody cares, Milena. Just move on. Listen up, guys. I want to let you know that this will be the last week of the CV and interview talk. Although I will come back to this later, okay? But next month I want to focus on speaking. Right, speaking English. And I will be introducing a new program that will help you speak English. I think this is the number one fear most of my listeners have, speaking English. I don't know if I should call it fear, but I cannot think of another word at the moment. Maybe it's obstacle. Maybe that's a better word. Anyway, in any case, keep your eyes and ears open for next month. I will be introducing a new program. So stay tuned. More on that next week. And remember, guys, if you're listening to this episode in October of 2017, please know I'm running the Get Job Ready program this month. If you think your CV needs to look more professional than what it is right now, then this program is for you. Go to EnglishMadeSimple.net/job, J-O-B, to register today. We start next week. Woohoo! Now let's begin to slowly wrap up the topic of CVs and job interviews. And to do this, what I want to do today is I will share top 7 tips you should know that will help you get the job. Look, I don't care what country you're in, where you live, but these 7 things I'm going to share with you will make you appear more professional, more confident, and help you perform better at job interviews, regardless of where you live, regardless which country you happen to have interviews in. It's not just relevant to Australia and New Zealand, okay? Radio, let's move right along. So what are these 7 tips, Milena? Are you going to share it with us already? Yes. Great question. Here it is. Okay, so let's imagine you got yourself a great CV. You get called in for a job interview. Woohoo, awesome. Time to celebrate. You know that you will completely ace this interview because you've been practicing and preparing yourself well in advance, well before the interview. You know it. You can do this. I always tell my students that looking for a job is a full-time job in itself. It will take a lot of time to prepare. You know, you will need some mental work as well. And if English is your second language, then it will take you a bit more time than what it would have taken a native speaker, okay? It's just a fact. I'm speaking from my own experience. There will be times where you get invited for interviews and you don't get the job. You just don't get the job. You did nothing wrong, but you were not as well prepared as the person who did get the job. And that person could be less qualified as well, right? So preparation is really important. Okay, so this is not a sad and depressing story, okay? This is a happy story today. This is a happy episode. Okay, so how do you ensure you master the interview? Well, you practice and prepare. I sound like a broken record. You prepare like a mad person. You study all the potential questions that you'd get asked if you are ever invited for an interview. Right, that was my number 1 tip for today. Number 1 tip, practice and prepare. And what do you need to practice? Okay. Right, I'll tell you. You need to be able to answer questions like, tell me about yourself. Why should we hire you? What makes you a better candidate over other candidates? What would you say your greatest weakness is? How would your friends describe you? Yes, they might ask you this question. They did ask me that question before. They asked me once, how would your friends describe you in 3 words? Yep. So, you need to be able to answer the most typical questions asked at job interviews. Remember to always give examples. Have 3 examples ready in your head that you could just draw upon in case you get asked to give examples. And I will talk more about this in tip number 6. But now, let's move on to tip number 2 because we are up to 2. Number 2 is research the company. You have to know something about the company where you will be interviewing. How many employees do they have? Who is the CEO of the company? Check the news to see if there are any bad news or good news. Actually, you're looking for positive news here. Or another suggestion, something that I like to do, is go to their website, company's website, and read their About page, About Us page. One of the questions they might ask you, and I'm 100% sure they will, is what do you know about us? What do you know about the company? You've been warned. I'm sharing so much information here, guys, so much valuable information. Right, next tip that I would like to share with you today, guys, is tip number 3. Number 3, get ready a couple of days before the interview. What I mean by this is choose the clothes you're going to wear, iron it, try it on. Can you still fit in? Did you gain some weight? Do you need to buy a new suit? You have to do this before the interview. Trust me, getting ready in the last minute will just stress you out even more. Also, plan your trip well in advance. Know where you're going. And what I like to do as well is print a couple of copies of my CV to take with me. And I also take a pen and paper for note-taking. I will be asking them questions too. This is a 2-way conversation. It's not just you being interviewed. So you will have to ask them questions to expect that. It shows that you're very interested in the role if you have questions to ask them. Cool. All right, next point I would like to make is, well, it's going to be a short and sweet point. Tip number 4, be punctual. Punctual. What does it mean, punctual? It means you arrive on time and you're not late to the interview. Come 10 minutes earlier, okay? 10 minutes earlier. Simple. Moving on to tip number 5. Stay calm. Don't be nervous. Okay? I hate it when somebody tells me that. Don't be nervous, Milena. Everything will be fine. No! When we are nervous, we speak fast. And because of this, sometimes we can't articulate ourselves as well as we would like to. So we get tongue-tied and say things like, and you get butterflies in your stomach. Not a pleasant feeling at all. Very awkward. So try to stay calm. I know it's easier said than done. But if you have really listened to my tip number 1, preparing for the interview well in advance will help you ease the interview jitters. Jitters is another word for nerves. Nerves. Okay, so my advice there is to be well prepared for the interview. Okay, the next tip, tip number 6, is very important. And I should have put it as a tip number 2, but that would have been too much information in one go. So, okay, tip number 6, demonstrate your skills. Demonstrate your skills. How do you do that? Be prepared. Okay, again, that's the topic of today's episode. Be prepared. Be prepared to give examples that will demonstrate your strengths. And your strengths are your key skills. Key skills. In Spanish, skills is habilidades. If you put that you have strong communication skills in your CV, if you put that in your CV, then be ready to give an example of this. What are communication skills? What does it mean? Well, for example, listening. Listening falls under communication, meaning are you able to listen to your manager and ask to clarify meaning if something is not clear? Are you able to share information with your colleagues? Are you able to follow instructions and report to your boss that a certain task has been completed? Right, think of your own examples. You will be asked at the interview to demonstrate your skills. Another example, you could be asked a behavioral question such as, describe a time when you did not get along with your coworker. Describe a time when you did not get along with a coworker. First of all, let me explain the phrasal verb here, to get along. Two words, get along. If two people get along, that means they like each other, they like each other's company, they are very friendly to each other, okay? Do you get along with your boss? It's nice when you can get along with your coworkers and your boss, right? Yeah. So the question that you might get asked is, tell us about a time when you did not get along with a coworker or your colleague. Ouch! I had my fair share of bad relationships at work, personality clashes and all. Really bad. That's another story, another day, another story. Not important right now. And if you happen to live in a perfect world where everyone gets along with everyone, somewhere in the la la land, and you seem to have a perfect relationship with all of your coworkers, then that's great. You're lucky. But you still need to answer this question, okay? To help you answer this question then, you would have to invent an answer. Make it up. Make up a situation where you wouldn't get along with your coworker. Make it believable, okay? The thing is, you have to say something to this question. You have to answer that question somehow, okay? Use your creativity. The interviewers want to get an insight into your character, to know how you behave in certain situations. Great! So much info, so much information. Can't believe I'm sharing all this with you, all these secrets. I wish there was something like this when I was going for job interviews back in the day. I had to learn the hard way. And now you have it the easy way thanks to moi, thanks to English Made Simple. Right, the last tip for you to remember is tip number 7. Follow up. Follow up. We learned about this phrasal verb a few months ago. Let me check. It was episode 107, called Corporate Buzzwords. Buzzwords, remember those? Buzzwords means corporate slang, or slang in this case. If you're new to the English Made Simple show, I suggest you hop into your time machine and go back to episode 107 and learn some business slang. Cool. So back to tip number 7, follow up. Follow up with the people who interviewed you. Thank them for the opportunity and tell them that you're very interested in the job. I bet very few people do this. By thanking them for the opportunity to be interviewed, you will immediately stand out from the other candidates. And, it's just a nice thing to do, okay? So, just to recap, in today's episode, we covered 7 things that you should do before the interview. The tips I shared today will help you land that perfect job. And remember, guys, practice makes perfect. Be prepared well ahead of the interview. Before we finish today, guys, I'd like to send a special greeting to Roberto from Chile. Roberto has visited Australia before. He worked for an Australian mining company. And he's been to Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Adelaide. Wow, that's great. And Roberto will know what I'm preaching here in today's episode, okay? What I'm talking about. Roberto, if you have time, go to check out number 107, episode number 107, to learn about the corporate slang. You might, refresh your memory about Aussie slang. A big shout out to Roberto. Thanks for your nice comments and glad to know you're enjoying the show. Thanks, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Don't forget, Get Job Ready program starts next week. Go to englishmadesimple.net/job, J-O-B, to reserve your spot. You've been an awesome audience, as always, and you've been jamming with Milena Chilena from English Made Simple. Catch you next time. Hasta la próxima.